Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good day so far today. My name is Glenn Kaminsky, Senior Manager, Best Practice Center of Excellence at ServiceNow, and welcome to our Customer Success in a Snap webinar series, Normalize and Prioritize, Discovery, the Key to Effective Software Asset Management. And we'll also discover the keys to effective software asset management. So, a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, if you have any questions, please post them on the community page that this event resides on. We'll be able to address those questions best that way. Also, this live broadcast will become an on-demand video immediately following the broadcast. So please make sure that you share this with your colleagues, anybody who might be interested. If you're watching this as a recording, please post your questions below on the YouTube site for the experts and other community experts to answer. And then finally, please make sure that you check out our survey link on the community. We absolutely love to hear your feedback. It's how we improve, that's how we get better at what we do, and how we address the topics that are most important to you. So our agenda today, we've pretty much covered the introduction. We'll then really look at three aspects of software normalization. We'll understand the key concepts and why it's important. We'll take a look at working with the discovery data that you currently have, and we'll make some recommendations around that. We'll then take a look at prioritizing how to handle manual normalization tasks, and we'll walk you through how to assess what the right order of tasks are for you, and then we'll make sure that we have some time for questions. Just briefly about myself, my name is Glenn Kaminsky. Again, I work within the Best Practice Center of Excellence here at ServiceNow, relatively new group. I've worked for 20 years in IT asset management, IT business management, and I really enjoy creating content to help our customers be successful and focusing on the topics that are of interest to them. So again, what we'll cover today and what you'll learn today is understanding software normalization elements and where it sits within the software asset management overall process. We'll take a look at how to work with your discovery data, how that really meshes with the software asset management process and how it feeds the normalization process. And then how you can improve your normalization hit rates. And we'll cover this in a little bit. And really where it matters most. So let's go ahead and get started. So software normalization, when we're talking about ServiceNow Software Asset Management or the asset management process in general, really focuses on your discovered software. It's taking the software information that you have, that you've gathered through your discovery process, and it starts to create and update discovery models within software asset management. So we'll talk more about discovery models in a moment, but discovery models are creating a unique set of software publisher, software title, and software version so that you have a single list of all this discovered software within your environment. Software normalization then takes this list of discovery models and matches that data against the central software library that is provided by ServiceNow. And then finally, it contributes to the compliance position. It's really all about software licensing. We use these software normalized values to compute the software license compliance position. And again, we'll talk about that in just a moment. When we take a look at normalization, the normalization elements are included within the box that you see at the bottom of this screen. This is a slightly simplified software asset management process, but we wanted to highlight those areas and those activities that we focus on for software normalization. It starts with discovery, and as you can see, we've shown a couple of examples of discovery tools, ServiceNow Discovery and Microsoft SCCM. We take then the discovered software installations and bring that into ServiceNow. The tie to the CMDB that you see is the tie to the hardware that that software is installed on. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. ServiceNow then reviews all of the software installation data and creates the software discovery models that I mentioned earlier. Bear in mind that the definitions, and you can always get additional information about each of these topics within the documentation site for ServiceNow. So when the software discovery models are created, again, that's that unique combination of software publisher, software title, software version. It compares those values to the central software library. And we'll, again, talk about that in a moment. But it then normalizes and creates consistent values for the publisher, the product, and the version. And then it's those values that are used to perform the software entitlement reconciliation to compare this software installation information and those counts to the software entitlements that you're also creating and managing within ServiceNow. And then that allows you to remediate, make changes, make updates, make decisions about what you're going to do if you are either over-licensed, so you might want to reclaim those software rights, or you may choose to uninstall software to get back into a legal compliance position. But this entire normalization process is a key to make sure that you have accurate software installation information for that side of the reconciliation equation. So let's break down the processes and the activities moving from discovery to normalization. The first step is we have our discovery information. Again, a couple of examples are shown here with ServiceNow Discovery, Microsoft SCCM. You can also use Jamf Discovery for your Macs or any discovery tool, and we've got guidance on how to bring in that discovery information into ServiceNow, a variety of ways that you can accomplish that, and we'll touch upon that in a moment. That's going to create software installations within ServiceNow. And a key here is that if you are a current CMDB customer, you will not find the software installations table within solely the CMDB application. That's actually created when ServiceNow SAM is activated. But once the software installation information is brought into ServiceNow, it does tie to the CMDB configuration item, or CI, that represents the hardware that the software is installed on. So that's the first step, is to bring in your software installation information. Next, as we discussed, we're going to take all of the software installations and combine those, aggregate that data into discovery models. And again, that is governed by a unique combination of discovered publisher, discovered product, and discovered version. That's going to give you that unique list of software, of all the software that is installed within your environment. That includes datacenter, desktop, Macs. Everything that you are discovering can be brought into ServiceNow either through our out-of-the-box included software packages, integration packages, or you can create custom integrations as well. So that's the second step, is to create the software discovery models. From a normalization standpoint, once the discovery model is created, that comparison is made against the central software library, also called the content library. So the content library, which we'll speak about in greater detail here in a moment, is going to maintain a list of normalized values, not just for publisher, product, and version, but will also create and maintain other important information that helps round out and provide detail on the software that has been discovered within your environment. So a moment on the software asset management content service. So this content service maintains a central software library that I've been mentioning earlier. Now, our content curation team manages and updates the content central software library based on submissions that are made by our customers. This is a crowdsourced service that allows our customers to take unnormalized software. It could be either obscure software that has not yet been included within the software library. You can include homegrown software, although most customers choose not to share that with the content library. But the curation team then takes these submissions, does research, and then provides normalized values into the central software library. So these library updates then occur approximately once a week, and the central software library contents are then copied over to our customer instances. And then as the normalization process is run, it will compare those newly created discovery models or recently updated discovery models to the software content library. And that's what creates and populates the normalized value within the discovery models. So the only way that the content creation team can create updates is for those to be submitted by our customers. That's why it's really critical, and we highly recommend that our customers opt in to the software asset management content service. Now, if you choose not to, you will still get the updates, but you'll get everybody else's updates that have been submitted. And I'm stealing my own thunder here, but we'll return to this in a little bit, that this is really a great way for you to improve your normalization hit rates, your normalization percentages, because you're submitting your own content, and that's very particular to your specific environment. So we'll get back to this in a little bit. So that really wraps up a very high-level description of what normalization is and why it's important. Again, it's really going to feed the reconciliation process. So keep that in mind. It's really for licensable elements. Let's talk a little bit about your working with your discovery data, because that's the primary focus and really the sole focus of normalization. I would like to comment before we jump in here that normalization also factors into processor normalization for the data center. So some publishers, Oracle being one of them, license based on processors, and different discovery tools gather processor information differently. So the normalization process also works with your processors, specific to the data center. We're not going to cover a lot of information about that here. There's great information, again, on the documentation site. We're really going to focus on the software side. So back to general discovery data requirements. The requirement really, first of all, is to load that discovery data into the software installations table, and you can see that here on the slide. The software data will then be linked to the hardware CI in the CMDB. And this is an important distinction to make. Again, the software installation table is not in the default CMDB tables. So if you're a customer who has not yet activated software asset management, but you do have the CMDB, if you go and look at the table structure within the CMDB, you won't find that. Don't be alarmed. That does get added when software asset management plugin is activated. Now, if your discovery tools have plugins with ServiceNow, and again, you can check your documentation to find out which do, make sure that you do activate those plugins prior to loading software installation data. That's really critical. We do have some recommendations for discovery tools based on the environment that you're going to be discovering. For the data center, we do recommend ServiceNow Discovery. Now, there are a couple advantages here. First, no integration is required. It's the ServiceNow platform. So that makes tying in and getting software installation information from ServiceNow Discovery pretty darn easy. You don't have to create separate integration points. You don't have to maintain them because it's part of the same platform. Jumped ahead a little too quickly. So another advantage of leveraging ServiceNow Discovery for your data center is that the SAM publisher packs are designed and tied in with ServiceNow Discovery so that Discovery collects the publisher's specific installation data required for reconciliation for the publishers. And one example of that is the data in the Software Asset Management VMware publisher pack, where Discovery will actually collect VMware license key and license key usage information that is key to calculate accurately the reconciliation position for VMware. Now, the prerequisite here is that you do need to activate the Discovery plugin, and that is available as a separate subscription from Software Asset Management. So please be aware of that. For Windows desktops and laptops, because Microsoft SCCM really is so ubiquitous, so many companies, virtually all really, are using Microsoft SCCM, it really makes a lot of sense for us to recommend that to inventory and manage Windows desktops and laptops. There's no reason to look anywhere further because we do work so closely with Microsoft and leveraging the SCCM connections that we have. So ServiceNow actually maintains this integration with the CMDB using mid servers. So customers using SAM can configure this integration to make sure that they're populating the software installation data into the correct tables that Software Asset Management uses. Now, another advantage down the road is that when you're ready to optimize your purchase entitlements, in other words, when you're ready to start harvesting software installations that are not being used often, ServiceNow Software Asset Management can use the metering data from SCCM to help identify and locate rarely used software. So software metering can be turned on for specific applications within Microsoft SCCM, and it will track how often an application is used and for how long that application is used over the course of a month. You can then set thresholds within Software Asset Management to say, identify reclamation candidates that have not been used more often or have been used less often than, say, 10, 20, 30 hours or whatever threshold you decide to set for that software. So Software Asset Management leverages that metering data. Again, you're going to turn on metering in a very deliberate and planned fashion because of the overhead involved with metering. But you can then target specific applications that you believe might be good candidates to reclaim that software and thereby get into a favorable licensing position and potentially even save money. So finally, within the Mac environment, we recommend Jamf Pro Discovery. So again, it's a very common solution for not just our customers, but many organizations. They're using it already to inventory and manage their Mac environments. In addition, this integration is available on the ServiceNow store. So integration, while it specifies compatibility with Helsinki and Istanbul, it can be customized to accommodate later releases. So you'll want to discuss this with professional services or one of your partners to look into the requirements for bringing in that Mac information. So now that we understand what normalization is, why it's important, and starting to work with your discovery information, let's talk a little bit how you're going to start taking the first steps to normalize and improve those hit rates so that you're confident about the license position and the counts that you have for your software installations. I mentioned this earlier, and here's the thunder I stole. Make sure that the first step is to opt in to that SAM content service. As we love to say, we love to manually update our data, said absolutely no one ever. The reason that this is important is that you can take that those matches not found, and match not found is a normalization status within your software discovery models. If it's not found within the content library, that gives you the opportunity to submit that discovery model for research by our curation team. And it provides continuous recognition improvement based on, and this is the key, your own discovery data. This is very specific to your organization. You can submit it and have that added to the content library. You're not having to go in, make manual updates, and we'll talk about what some of those manual updates might be in a little bit, but it gives you that highest chance of success to move the needle from a match not found. In other words, the discovery model not being matched to the content library, to make sure it's recognized. So it helps create content that improves normalization hit rates, not just for you, and that is paramount, but it also helps the other customers that are on software asset management. Now, if you have homegrown software that you don't want to include, it's custom software that you created, it can be excluded. Even if you opt into the content service, you can exclude specific discovery models from being submitted to the content curation team if you so desire. There's a flag in the discovery model, in this discovery model form, that allows you to exclude it from being submitted. That way you can just manage that, keep that information within your own instance. As the content curation team does research and includes that new software in the content library, that updated content will be pulled from the central library to your own instance on a weekly basis. So that's step number one. After you choose to opt in, and hopefully you will, there are some important steps that you can take to kind of make the improvements count most. First of all is follow the money. Just like in the movie All the President's Men, the first advice here is to follow the money. Really focus on those vendors, those software publishers that make up 80% of your total software expenditures. Really key to understand that, again, this is all about license position. So make the biggest impact with those larger software publishers. After that, take a look at when you have publisher true-ups coming up so that you can get into a regular cadence. Oftentimes, activities are surrounded by an audit that comes up, and this is an absolutely real situation. But you want to start getting ahead of the game so that you can get into a cadence so that you'll be ready for an audit. It becomes less of an event, less of a fire drill. You can be ready on a regular basis because you're actually running through these processes and making these improvements on a scheduled cadence. And really focus on licensable software. Because we feed normalization information, and that's the key to software license position, make sure you're not looking at hit rates, say, overall and striving for perfection. Really make sure you're targeted and you spend that time in these steps that I'll show here in the next couple of slides, focusing on licensable software. So what is the approach to take when focusing on software discovery models that have a normalization status? So that's really the status that is assigned by software asset management based on the extent to which the discovered data, the raw discovered data, is matched to the central content library. So the first step is really to identify any discovery models that are not fully normalized. So the normalization status for fully normalized will show up as normalized. You will have other options, and we'll touch upon these here in these next couple of slides. And there are specific steps that you should take based on each of these statuses. After you've focused on your high dollar software publishers, looking for kind of prioritizing in a date standpoint for upcoming true-ups, and then focusing on licensable software, here are the steps that you should take based on the normalization status. So the first is, if you have a discovery model that is fully normalized, so in other words, it's matched against a discovered publisher, discovered product, discovered version, but the edition is not discoverable. So when we're talking about edition, we're talking about things like Microsoft Professional 2016, Microsoft Visio Professional 2016 versus Standard. It's that kind of fourth dimension. If it's fully normalized, but the edition for some reason is not discoverable, you can manually enter the correct edition value, but this has to be on the software installation record. The rest of the steps that you'll see will be updates to the discovery model record. These will be to the actual software installation records themselves. And the edition is the only attribute on the software installation record that you can update manually. Everything else is populated automatically based on integration and the data itself. So if you have software, again, that does not have the edition available, manually update those within the software installation record, and then it'll map the software installations onto that new discovery model, and then normalization will proceed as usual. So the next step is probably the step that we see most often. Discovery installation information and on the discovery model is either partially normalized, so in other words, it might be normalized on publisher and product but not version, or it's just publisher normalized. It recognized the publisher and normalized only that publisher value. First step is, if you've opted into the content service, great. Send that over to the content service so that the curation team can get that added to the central library. If you're not, then you can manually update the discovery model with the correct remaining attributes. So if product, version, platform, edition, those are all values within the discovery model, you can manually update those onto the discovery model. And then Software Asset Management will update the normalization status to manually normalized. And then you do have those normalized values available for the reconciliation process. Now, if the software discovery model is not found within the content library and it's not homegrown software, again, send it to the content service. Let the content service research it, add that into the library. When the library gets updated and reconciliation is run, it will update your discovery model. If that's not an option, then create the custom software product, which is separate from the discovery model. So the software product denotes a licensable software that you wish to track entitlements for. Create that entitlement, and then you'll also create what's called a pattern normalization rule. That's really telling Software Asset Management, hey, if I'm looking for specific discovered values for the product name, the version, it will then translate that into normalized values, and then you can continue on, and it will manually normalize that particular software discovery model. Now, if you have a match not found and it happens to be homegrown software, you have really three options here. First of all, you could send that to the content service for the content curation team to update. If not, you can choose to not normalize it because there isn't a licensing impact. If you did want to include it and have a reconciliation option to compare that to the counts for that particular software, you can create a custom software product and just check out the documentation on how to do that. The documentation site has very good step-by-step instructions on how to create your software product. And then you're going to update those discovery model attributes, the version, the product title, edition, things like that, manually within the discovery model. And again, Software Asset Management will update the normalization status to manually normalized, and it will be available for reconciliation. So from a takeaway perspective, again, be aware that normalization really isn't just important, it really is key to the reconciliation process. But don't try to make it perfect. Don't strive for just a number, because again, you're focused on the quality of your reconciliation and the confidence with which you can say that you have the correct number of installations for that licensable software. Don't look for perfection across every single non-licensable discovery model. It's really all about licensing. Prioritize and improve the hit rates for that reconciliation accuracy. Take those steps that I mentioned, focusing on your larger publishers, focusing on any true-ups that are coming up on your calendar, and then focusing again on those licensable products. And last but absolutely not least is do opt in to the Software Asset Management Content Service. That gives you the best way to improve your normalization accuracy, because you're sending your own software installations to the content service. And there's a lot of great information, again, on the documentation site about the content service. Finally, our Customer Success Center, which we are going to be launching formally at Knowledge 18, is available for you to take a look at. This particular best practice, and there's a bit more detail just because we couldn't fit all of the content within a 30-minute window. This particular best practice is not up yet. We should have that up shortly, but we do have several best practices already loaded onto the Customer Success Center, and it allows you to really dig down and get deep knowledge around not just what to do, but why it's important for a wide variety of subjects across the plan to deploy all the way through extending and expanding your use of ServiceNow. So check this out when you get a chance. If you have any questions, again, please, you can make those available. And I want to thank you for your time today. And I hope you found this information helpful. Again, this will be made available immediately on demand after we wrap up today.